Well, I actually grew up my first 4 years over in West Peoria. You know, we lived in a little bungalow. Everybody was coming back after the war, and you know, everyone was having families. As the family grew, I guess my dad and mom had been talking about, you know, moving out to Spring Bay. You know, we had a cabin out there. It was like a hunting property, and we'd stay on the weekends, but pretty much my mom and I, you know, after we got everybody off to school, we'd go out to Spring Bay and, you know, work on the house. I helped the workers.
Kim was bright, smart, active, fun. And, you know, Kim was raised kind of in the same way that I was raised, by parents who said, make this world a better place when you're in it. And so Kim made my 8th grade year a better place, and he made this community a better place, and ultimately he's made the world a better place.
You know, most kids went to school and they sort of sat in the back and they did the bare minimum, and I always got sort of enthralled in whatever the topic was. And so when you're like that, the teachers sort of pick up on that, and you know, not that they were my friends, but they would challenge me to do more than, you know, others in the class, because they recognized I had some talents. And I thought I was going to be a lawyer like Abraham Lincoln and come back and run for something and become a senator, that sort of thing. And the law school students were miserable, and the business school students were having a ball. And that's when I realized I worked best in a team kind of environment. You know, when you haven't been successful, you don't think about what you're going to do when you're successful. I mean, it's just not something you think about. You're just so busy trying not to fail. Started my first company at 36, so by doing BioSite and that becoming a success, that's where I really figured out that I was good at coming up with ideas and putting together teams and, you know, executing to build companies.
BioSite was really focused on conditions that were diagnosed in the emergency room where there was a lot of unclarity. And so if you could pinpoint what it was quickly, the emergency room physician could get it to the proper subspecialty like cardiology.
So San Diego was really the hotbed for biotech companies. And Kim's involvement directly in a number of those different companies has ended up impacting millions of lives, which is incredible. And so he was working in point of care diagnostics when we worked together at our first company. And then after that company sold, he wanted to do it again. He said, I have a feeling that I can build an organization that's even able to help more people.
For Tandem Diabetes Care, Kim was able to transform the practice of medicine once again by bringing unique consumer-oriented features to what was traditionally a medical device community. So ease of use, allowing people to feel more confident in using their medical devices. As a result, today, the product is being used by hundreds of thousands of people worldwide.
You know, when I got to this stage of my life, you start asking yourself with your financial advisors, you know, what should I do with this? Since I'm a doer, I thought maybe I could start my own charitable organization here that was really a capitalistic charitable organization where we're making investments that would have, you know, handsome returns, but we're doing things that in a way uplift the community.
He said, you know, this community gave me the most wonderful raising I could ever have. And I just really want to come back and invest in this community and lift it up in appreciation and in thanks.
I thought, this is fantastic, you know. I mean, can a man actually do this many things? And I soon learned that everything he had a dream of doing was to become a reality.
With coming back here in the last years or so, it's turning around. You know, it's, I think along with tourism that we're investing in at San Cody and, you know, other ideas that we have, and, you know, trying to make Peoria more of a music destination with things like the Scottish Rites and with healthcare community here with OSF, what they're doing to bring jobs back. I think we're figuring out how to, you know, lift the economy and get the GDP growing again.
His ability to set a vision or see the opportunity is really driven by the ability to help people and where there's the biggest need. And because of that, the passion that he brings to it, people want to follow him. They believe what his vision is. And I think he's proven again and again that his vision is spot on.